There's a secret, one that the most magnetic women in the world understand. Not intellectually, but deep in their bones. A secret that has absolutely nothing to do with outer beauty, money, youth, or even perfection. It's something so subtle and so deeply powerful that, once you embody it, men begin to respond to you in ways that defy logic. You become unforgettable, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Have you ever watched a woman walk into a room and noticed how people just, look, she doesn't say much. She's not the loudest or the most glamorous. And yet, there's something about her. Something felt more than seen. A kind of gravitational pull. The way she carries herself. The air of completeness she exudes. Men are drawn to her like moths to flame. And here's the most surprising part. She isn't doing anything to get their attention. She simply is. This isn't magic. It's not manipulation. It's not about playing hard to get, or following some 12-step strategy on how to text him back. It's something far more primal, far more sacred. And the truth is, most women have been doing the exact opposite of what actually works. Most women are exhausting themselves chasing a version of love that never arrives. They try harder. They give more. They contort and shape themselves into what they believe a man wants. They become more understanding, more available, more generous, hoping that all their effort will finally be noticed, that he'll finally see her, choose her, commit to her. But what happens instead? He pulls away. He becomes indifferent. The connection fades. She's left wondering, what did I do wrong? And worse, what's wrong with me? The pain of not being chosen is one of the deepest wounds a woman can carry. It whispers lies, you're not enough. You need to be prettier, younger, sexier, more successful. And so the cycle continues. She does more, gives more, becomes less of herself and more of what she thinks he wants. And still, he doesn't choose her. But what if I told you that the pain you feel, the ache of rejection, the loneliness, the endless wondering if you'll ever be truly loved, that pain is actually sacred? That inside that pain is a gateway, a portal to your true feminine power. This is not just poetic language. This is real. Psychologist Walter Riso, one of the most respected voices in Latin America on the psychology of love and relationships, spent over 40 years studying the dynamics between men and women. What he discovered wasn't just groundbreaking, it was soul-changing. He found that the women who were consistently chosen, the ones men pursued with devotion, the ones who built lasting, passionate relationships, shared something that couldn't be taught in a dating manual, something deeper. They radiated what he called a female magnetic presence. And here's the truth that most women don't want to hear. This magnetic presence doesn't come from effort. It doesn't come from doing more. It doesn't come from being the perfect girlfriend or from giving him everything he wants. In fact, those things can actually push him away, because a man does not fall in love with your effort. He falls in love with your essence. Let that sink in. He doesn't choose you because you proved yourself. He chooses you because something inside of him recognizes your wholeness, not your perfection, your wholeness. And here lies the paradox. The more you try to become what you think he wants, the more you disconnect from the very energy that makes you magnetic in the first place. We've been taught to compete like men, to hustle, to achieve, to win love like a prize. But in doing so, we've forgotten the art of being. We've lost touch with the part of us that is effortlessly captivating, simply because it's real. The feminine doesn't attract by striving. She attracts by being, by resting in her fullness, by allowing her natural light to shine, not in competition, but in truth. This doesn't mean being passive or submissive. Far from it. True feminine power is not weak. It's not passive. It's not quiet in the way the world tells women to be. True feminine power is soft and strong. It's nurturing and wildly free. It's grounded, whole, alive. So how did we lose it? We started believing love had to be earned. We were told, be good and he'll stay. Be pretty and he'll love you. Be less emotional, less needy, more chill, more available. And so we silenced parts of ourselves. We edited our emotions. We played cool. We smiled through heartbreak. And with each performance, we moved further, away from ourselves and further, away from the love we actually desire. This is the tragedy of modern relationships. Women are bending over backwards to be chosen, and in the process they become invisible. So what's the way back? The answer begins with a radical shift, a shift that turns everything you've been told on its head. The answer is you must choose yourself first, not in a superficial self-love Sunday kind of way, not in a way that's about bubble baths or Instagram quotes, but in a deep, sacred, embodied way, a way that says, I am whole, with or without a relationship. I am enough, without needing to prove, perform, or please. Because when you live from that truth, you send a signal, a frequency, an energy that every man can feel, even if he can't explain it. Suddenly, you are no longer chasing, no longer grasping, no longer available for crumbs. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing you. And ironically, that's exactly what makes a man choose you. This is not a tactic. It's not reverse psychology. It's not a trick to get a man to do what you want. It's a full return to your power. And once you begin this journey, you can never go back. You start to see how much you've been settling. You begin to feel the ache of all the places you abandoned yourself. But instead of running from it, you turn toward it. You allow it to awaken something ancient within you. Something sacred. Something that was never really lost, just buried. That's the beginning of your transformation. In the depths of every man's psyche lies something ancient. A primal intelligence that dates back thousands of years. Long before modern dating apps, social media, or even language. This part of his brain doesn't care about your resume, your social status, or your carefully curated profile. It operates beneath logic, beneath reason. It's instinct. And when a woman awakens this instinct in a man, something extraordinary happens. He is no longer evaluating her like a list of pros and cons. He's not wondering if she checks every box. He feels her. He senses something in her that bypasses all his defenses. That's when the shift happens. He stops being casual, stops being uncertain, stops keeping his options open, because something in her energy makes him choose. Not out of fear, pressure, or strategy, but from a deeper place. And the most magnetic part? He often can't explain why. Walter Riso called this the trigger of sacred attraction. And it has nothing to do with what you say or do. It's about who you're being, your energy, your presence, your connection to yourself. Let's break this down. The difference between impressing and inspiring. Most women, without realizing it, try to impress men. They show up with their best version, put together. Agreeable, helpful, even accommodating. They offer solutions. They predict his needs. They think ahead. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Impressing him is not what awakens his devotion. Impressing is performance, and performance is exhausting, for you and for him. What truly moves a man, what activates something deeper in him, is inspiration. A woman who is so connected to her own life, her own joy, her own emotional landscape, that just being around her inspires a man to rise, to deepen, to become more. Not because she demands it, but because her presence invites it. Inspiration is never pushy, never loud. It doesn't need to convince. It doesn't chase. It doesn't try. It is the portal of feminine presence. Walter Riso observed, through decades of study, a pattern among women who consistently drew in powerful, devoted love. These women didn't play games. They didn't hide their emotions. They didn't use seduction as a tactic, but they all shared one thing. They were deeply present. They weren't overthinking. They weren't rehearsing the next text message or analyzing his every word. They weren't split between the past and the future. They were here, grounded, calm, fully in their bodies, fully in their lives. This is what he called feminine magnetic presence. Imagine walking into a garden. You smell the scent of jasmine. You feel the sun on your skin. You hear the breeze in the trees. It's not trying to impress you. It's not doing anything. And yet you want to stay. That's what feminine presence feels like to a man. A kind of peaceful richness. A fullness that is captivating without needing attention. A woman like this doesn't feel anxious when he's silent. She doesn't shrink when he pulls back. She doesn't chase when he withdraws, because she trusts something deeper, herself. And this trust sends a frequency through every word she says, every gesture, every smile. It's an energy that speaks louder than any text ever could. The male brain. Why logic can't compete with energy. Here's what most people don't understand about men. Their logical minds might say, she's great on paper. She has everything I want. But if the energy isn't right, if something feels off or forced, he will not feel that deep urge to commit. But when he meets a woman who is connected to herself, when he feels her emotional independence, her confidence, her relaxed radiance, his primal brain lights up. That deep ancient part of him that knows, this woman is different. He may not say it out loud, but inside he feels it. He may even resist it at first. He might pull away, confused, because he's never met a woman who didn't need him, but still wanted him. A woman who didn't try to fill his voids, but instead stayed full in her own being. And that difference is everything. The most irresistible quality a woman can have. Here's a truth you won't hear in magazines or dating advice columns. The most irresistible quality a woman can have is inner wholeness. Not beauty, not sex appeal, not even confidence, in the performative sense. True magnetism comes from wholeness, from the energy of, I am complete with or without you. I love my life. I love myself. You are welcome to walk beside me, but I will not lose myself for you. That energy is intoxicating to the right man. It's terrifying to the wrong ones. But either way, it's unforgettable. When a woman starts living this truth, she enters what Riso described as a natural filter. Men who are emotionally unavailable, immature, or threatened by her strength will slowly disappear, not because she rejected them, but because her energy doesn't resonate with their frequency. She no longer fits into their old patterns. Instead, she starts attracting men who see her. Men who are capable of loving a woman in her fullness, not just in the version that serves them. Men who want a partner, not a project. Men who are inspired by her, not intimidated. But how do you begin this journey? What does it look like in your daily life? That's where the transformation becomes personal. Now that you understand the core of feminine magnetic presence, why? It's not about impressing but inspiring. Not about trying harder but surrendering to your wholeness. You might be asking, how do I actually live this way? How do I make this real in my daily life? That's where Walter Riso's groundbreaking discovery becomes truly transformative. After decades of observing women in deeply fulfilling relationships, women who were not necessarily the most attractive, wealthy, or young, but were consistently chosen by emotionally mature, Riso noticed that all of them shared three key traits. He called them the three sacred pillars of feminine magnetism. 1. Emotional independence. 2. Conscious presence. 3. Unconditional self-love. Let's explore each one deeply, because these are not just ideas. They are embodied ways of being. Once you activate them within you, your entire energetic field begins to change. Pillar 1. Emotional independence. Let's begin with what might be the most misunderstood trait. Emotional independence. Emotional independence does not mean you don't want love. It doesn't mean you don't feel longing or vulnerability or desire. Those are human feelings, and sacred feminine feelings at that. Emotional independence is not the same as emotional numbness. What it does mean is this: you are no longer dependent on anyone else for your sense of self-worth, stability, or emotional validation. You can love a man deeply, and still know that your joy, your peace, your identity don't live in his hands. You no longer need his attention to feel whole. You no longer wait for his text to feel wanted. You no longer panic when he pulls away, because you no longer abandon yourself. Think about that. How often do we confuse love with attachment? How often do we think, if he chooses me, then I'm valuable? That mindset will always keep you chasing, and men feel that energy. Even if you say all the right things, the underlying need is sensed, and that need repels more than it attracts. But when you are emotionally independent, your energy becomes spacious, unclinging, magnetic. A man senses she wants me, but she doesn't need me to feel good about herself. And that distinction activates something very deep in the male psyche. Not the instinct to conquer, but the instinct to rise. Pillar 2, conscious presence. The second sacred pillar is one of the most beautiful, feminine qualities, and one that the modern world often disconnects us from: presence. Conscious presence means you are fully here, not in your head, anxiously analyzing his words, not projecting into the future or spiraling in the past. You're in your body, in your breath, in your joy, in your truth. And when you're with a man, he feels that. A woman who is present creates a space that is rare in today's world. A space where a man can also drop his guard, stop performing, and feel accepted for who he is. Not for what he gives, not for what he does, but just for being. Presence is not about perfection. It's not about knowing all the right things to say. It's about being available emotionally and energetically. It's about being real. Here's the irony. Many women are physically with a man, but energetically elsewhere. They're in their thoughts, in their doubts, in their insecurities. And he feels that disconnection, even if he can't name it. But the woman who brings her full, grounded energy into the room, she becomes unforgettable. This is why the feminine is often compared to nature. The ocean doesn't try to get your attention. It just is, and you can't help but feel drawn to it. A woman in conscious presence holds that same power. She listens deeply, speaks truthfully, laughs fully, and whether she's sitting across from you or walking down the street, her presence lands like the scent of a blooming flower. Undeniable. Pillar 3, unconditional self-love. And now we arrive at the most essential, and often the most challenging pillar: unconditional self-love. This is where the entire transformation roots itself. Most of us were taught to love ourselves if we're productive, if we're pretty, if we're wanted, if we succeed. But this kind of love is not real. It's conditional. It's fragile. It disappears the moment we fall short. Unconditional self-love means, I love myself when I'm glowing. I love myself when I'm messy. I love myself when I'm alone. I love myself when I'm not chosen. Because my worth is not up for negotiation. Can you imagine how your energy would shift if you loved yourself like that? Suddenly rejection wouldn't break you. Ghosting wouldn't shatter your self-esteem. You wouldn't take it personally if someone pulled away, because you would know, this isn't about my value. It's about their capacity. Unconditional self-love becomes your compass, your filter, your source. It means you set boundaries without guilt. You walk away from relationships that don't honor you. You stop trying to earn love, and instead, you allow it to find you, where you already are. And the more you live from this energy, the more natural it becomes. It's no longer an affirmation on your mirror. It's your way of being. Men feel this. It's like an invisible perfume. It says, I know who I am. I love who I am. And I invite you to love me too. But only if you can meet me here. When you live from these 3 sacred pillars, emotional independence, conscious presence, and unconditional self-love, you become a force of nature. You don't chase. You don't perform. You don't beg for love. You become a mirror. One that reflects back to a man who he can become. Not by fixing him, but by simply being all of you. Some men will be intimidated by this. Others will try to dim your light. But the man who is ready, the man who has done his own work, will recognize the treasure before him. And he will rise. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy called his soul forward. So far, you've learned about the truth that most magnetic women live by. You now understand that you don't need to chase love, impress men, or perform for attention. Instead, you learned that the true path to lasting, real love lies in emotional independence, conscious presence, and unconditional self-love. But here's the thing. Knowing the truth and living the truth are 2 very different things. Right now, you may feel a spark inside you, a recognition, something in you whispering, yes, this is the way. But there's still a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Why? Because most of us have been programmed, since childhood, to give our energy away to seek approval, validation, and affection by pleasing others and abandoning ourselves. We were taught that our value comes from what we do, not who we are. That's why in this part we focus on reclaiming your power. We're going to explore how to stop draining your emotional energy into people who don't deserve it, and how to return that energy to yourself. Let's begin. The hidden ways you give away your energy. You may not even realize how often you give away your energy. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like waiting anxiously for his reply, checking your phone every few minutes, replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong, being constantly available, saying yes when your body says no, diminishing your desires to appear easier to love, ignoring your intuition when it says, "This doesn't feel right," overgiving in hopes that he will finally see you. All of these things pull your energy outward. They disconnect you from your center, from your power, from your truth. And while they may seem like small things, over time, they create an identity that is built on lack, on trying to be worthy. But here's what's powerful. You can change that starting now, reclaiming your energy step by step. Let's explore how to begin the shift. 1. Stop over-explaining yourself. When a woman feels disconnected from her worth, she tends to over-explain. She wants to justify her feelings, her boundaries, her choices. But you don't need to. Your no is a complete sentence. Your feelings are valid even if no one understands them. Your boundaries don't need to be approved before they're honored. Every time you explain or apologize for your truth, you leak energy. The more you stand in your clarity, calmly, firmly, lovingly, the more powerful you become. 2. Create a life that nourishes you. This is one of the most magnetic things a woman can do. When your life is full of things that bring you joy, creativity, meaning, and peace, you no longer orbit around a man. You no longer need a relationship to feel alive. You already are. This doesn't mean you don't want love. It means that love is no longer your only source of fulfillment. Start small. Reconnect with hobbies you forgot. Spend time in places that make you feel alive. Nurture female friendships that uplift you. Create a morning ritual that centers you. Let yourself rest and receive without guilt. When your life is rich, a man becomes a beautiful addition, not your source of oxygen. 3. Break the addiction to approval. Many women are unconsciously addicted to male approval. Not because they're weak, but because they were raised in a culture that taught them their worth depends on being liked. But here's the raw truth. A woman who needs approval becomes whatever the man wants her to be. A woman who knows her worth becomes whoever she is. To break this pattern, you must become radically honest. Are you saying yes when you want to say no? Are you ignoring your needs to keep the peace? Are you changing yourself to keep him interested? Start catching these moments. Don't judge yourself, just notice. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Turning inward, redirecting your energy. What happens when you stop giving your energy away? You begin to fill up. You begin to radiate. You stop leaking power and start generating it. This is what makes a woman magnetic. Her energy is not scattered, confused, or needy. It is focused, calm, rich, like a still lake that reflects truth. Men feel this immediately. They may not be able to describe it, but they sense that being around you feels different, refreshing, grounding, a little mysterious, and deeply real. You are no longer trying to be liked. You are no longer trying to be perfect. You are simply being, and that being becomes a lighthouse in a world full of noise. Why surrender is the ultimate power move. Let's return to the word we introduced earlier. Surrender. Not surrender as weakness, not submission to another's will, but surrender to your own feminine essence. Surrender to life, to trust, to your truth. This kind of surrender is deeply magnetic. It's the moment you stop trying to control everything and start allowing. It means you trust that the right man will not pass you by. You release relationships that drain you, even if it hurts. You stop over-efforting and start aligning. You live from your heart, not your fear. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing love, love begins to chase you. Men start texting first, showing up differently, treating you with more respect, more devotion, more presence. Not because you manipulated them, but because you changed your energetic blueprint. You became unavailable for crumbs, and available for everything your soul truly desires. Wholeness is your new standard. The more you live from this energy, the more selective you become, not out of ego, but out of wisdom. You no longer entertain relationships that exhaust you. You don't ignore red flags. You don't mistake chemistry for compatibility. You hold yourself in such high regard that only men who do the same can stay in your world. And that's when the most beautiful thing happens. You no longer fear being alone, because you've made peace with your own company. And from that place, love flows effortlessly. You've come a long way. You've uncovered the secret that the most magnetic women in the world carry effortlessly, not because they were taught it, but because they remembered it. You've learned that trying to prove your worth, chasing love, and sacrificing your truth actually make you invisible, and that the only path to lasting love begins with one sacred decision: to choose yourself, completely, unapologetically, and wholeheartedly. This final part is not about learning something new. It's about stepping fully into the woman you already are underneath the masks, the fear, the conditioning. This is the version of you that a real man can't forget. The one who doesn't chase, doesn't shrink, doesn't settle. The one who speaks with clarity, who moves with grace, who lives with richness. The one who loves herself deeply, and therefore invites deep love in return. Because here's the truth. The man who is meant for you cannot fully see you until you fully see yourself. What happens when you embody your true essence? Let's explore the real-life shifts that occur when you begin to embody everything we've discussed. 1. You stop settling for half-love. A woman who is emotionally full no longer tolerates empty love. She recognizes when a man is breadcrumbing, stringing her along, or unable to meet her heart. She doesn't beg him to stay. She doesn't try to fix him. She simply honors her inner standard. And something amazing happens. The energy that was once spent trying to be chosen is now spent choosing herself, her dreams, her joy, her purpose. That inner shift creates a clear boundary. Immature, unavailable men fade away, while those capable of depth begin to take notice. 2. You radiate confidence without needing to prove anything. Your confidence isn't loud or showy. It doesn't need to post every win or get constant reassurance. It's quiet. It's steady. It's felt. This confidence says, I like who I am. I enjoy my life. I know what I offer. And because you no longer seek validation from outside, you become magnetizing. Men feel this. They instinctively respect it. Suddenly, you're not chasing attention. You're choosing where to give your attention. You're not hoping he sees your worth. You're asking whether he's aligned with yours. That shift is magnetic. 3. You inspire instead of impress. You've stopped performing. You've stopped pretending. You've stopped exhausting yourself trying to be enough. Instead, you live authentically. You laugh without filtering. You say no without guilt. You express your truth without fear. You rest when you need to. You glow when you're lit up by your passions. And that energy? It inspires. The right man doesn't just admire you. He grows because of you. He respects the way you live. He wants to match your energy. He begins to rise, not because you asked him to, but because being near you invites that growth. How men respond to this energy. Let's talk about what happens when a man meets a woman who has fully stepped into her magnetic feminine presence. It's not a crush. It's not infatuation. It's not a fleeting desire to chase and conquer. It's something deeper. He feels safe. Safe to be himself. Safe to love. Safe to open. He feels called. Called to show up with integrity. Called to lead with truth. He feels challenged, not by conflict, but by the invitation to grow. Most of all, he feels something ancient and rare. That he's in the presence of a woman who knows her worth, and therefore will only choose a love that is worthy of her. This awakens a man's sacred masculine. His desire not just to impress you, but to honor you. To provide, protect, and commit, not from ego, but from devotion. And if he's not ready for that, he'll fade away, because this kind of woman exposes what's real. And not every man can hold it, but the right man will. The new you, a vision of your future. So what does life look like once you've made this shift? You wake up in the morning not wondering if someone likes you, but already liking yourself. You move through the world knowing you are whole, seen and worthy, no matter who is or isn't in your life. Your decisions are no longer based on fear of losing someone, but on love for yourself. You no longer confuse loneliness with lack. You know solitude is sacred. You stop trying to be chosen and realize you are the chooser. You speak differently. You dress differently. You take up space without apology. You date differently, not to fill a void, but to share a full life. And when you do fall in love, it's not from desperation, it's from overflow. You love because you choose to, not because you need to. And this is the kind of love that lasts. Your legacy, awakening others through your light. Here's something beautiful that Walter Rizzo noticed in his research. When a woman steps into her magnetic, emotionally sovereign self, she doesn't just change her romantic life, she changes everything. Her friendships deepen. Her boundaries strengthen. Her career blossoms. Her joy returns. And the ripple effect touches everyone around her. Women start asking what changed. Your children, if you have them, see a model of self-respect. Your community feels your presence. This energy is contagious. When one woman awakens, we all begin to awaken. So don't keep this transformation to yourself. Share it. Speak it. Live it. Be the lighthouse. Because in a world that constantly tells women to be smaller, quieter, easier to love, your wholeness is revolutionary. Let's come back to the beginning. You wanted to be chosen. You wanted to be loved. You wanted to feel like you mattered. And now you see, you were always the one. The moment you choose yourself, everything changes. The energy shifts. The world responds differently. Love stops feeling like something to earn and starts becoming something you naturally attract. You don't chase love. You become it. You don't beg to be seen. You embody your light. You don't prove your worth. You own it. And in the stillness of that truth, the right man arrives, not to complete you, but to celebrate you. Because he sees what you now see. You are not one of many. You are the only one. So take a breath, smile, and welcome the life that's waiting for you. Because it's your time, you are chosen. If this journey has awakened something powerful in you, share it with another woman you love. Let her feel the shift. Let her remember her own sacred power. Because when one of us rises, we all rise. If this message stirred something in your heart, if you're done settling, shrinking, and chasing, if you're ready to step into the love, confidence, and wholeness you were born for, then don't let this be the end of your journey. Let it be the beginning. Subscribe now and receive weekly love notes, deep feminine wisdom, and step-by-step guidance to help you reclaim your power, magnetize high-quality, emotionally available men, attract love without chasing or proving, embody the woman you were always meant to be. This isn't just a mailing list. It's a portal into your next level. Join thousands of women remembering their worth and becoming unforgettable. Subscribe now. Your transformation starts here.